Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. I found another earring up here and I just attached it. Ooh, I love this. Anyway, so I was writing my first novel and I had written something about a red velvet cake. Now, this was like 20 some years ago before people knew red velvet cake, before it had become a part of, the culture of America. But back then, only Southerners really knew something about a red velvet cake. And even though I'm from Delaware, Delaware is still a Southern state. Anyway, well, we had slaves. We did not secede the Union, but, we were first to get them, last to let them go. All that's another story. I was living in California, and my editor had written in my margins of this book, what is a red velvet cake? And I wrote back, are you black? And she is. It became a joke between us. Anyway, I decide I'm going to make a red velvet cake. Now, I'm going to be meeting she and my literary agent in New York. I live in California. I get up early, early, early in the morning. I bake a red velvet cake. I have it ready. Um, I put it in a big Tupperware container. I make another red velvet cake. I slice some up and wrap those individually because I know people going to see me with this cake and want some, but I'm not cutting it until they get there. Until they get theirs. So anyway, I get on the plane, big old Tupperware. And the flight attendants were like, we will store this for you if you give us some. And I was like, funny you should ask. And I pull out my slices for them. And they were like, oh my God, this is so good. What is this? Because people in California didn't know what a red velvet cake was either. So anyway, we get to New York and I'm going out to dinner that night with my literary agent and my editor. And we are meeting in like the fanciest one of those shababa shababa one of those places you can't get in unless you know somebody. And my literary agent knows some somebodies. And so I walk in with this big old Tupperware container and a red cake. And, well, you can see the white frosting. And people are looking at me like, clutch the pearls. What is this heathen? And my my literary agent knows that I'm all of that. She knows every last bit of that. First time I met her, I cleaned her chandelier. I'm not even kidding you. Anyway, so we come in, and I'm like, Janet, you gonna get some red velvet cake. She's from Detroit. She didn't know. So the server is like, oh, he's looking at this thing in the center of the table, like, what? Would you like me to put it in there? And I was like, listen, I know I look like a country bumpkin. I am not a country bumpkin. They never had red velvet cake. And so I brought it. And he was like, from where? And I said, California. So he took it back into the kitchen. And when it was time for dessert, he sliced it and served it. And it comes out and it's red and beautiful, beautiful red like this on the inside. And he brings it out, and everybody he passes is like, what is that? What is that? And can we have some? And everybody is like, so my editor, Janet, and my literary agent, Victoria, had this red velvet cake, and they are like, it is like Harry Met Sally in there. They're like, oh, this is so good. And everybody in this Sheshifapul restaurant is looking like, how come we can't get any? So the server says the chef would like to know if he can have a slice. And I'm like, absolutely. And you get you some too, baby. So everybody is tasting this red velvet cake and they're just like blown away. The chef wants the recipe. I'm like, sure. My literary agent is like, this is just so amazing. But my editor was like, oh my God. So we don't have any cake for them to take home. Because I had planned on Janet being able to take this cake on home. And Janet's about this big, and I didn't think she was going to be eating up a bunch of cake, but she said she would eat that cake. These people are like, can I have some? Can I have some? Can I have some? Everybody in the restaurant. And of course, I share this cake. And I made another one. I went to a friend's house and asked her if I could use her kitchen so that I could make some more cakes. One for Janet, one for my agent Victoria, and one for her. And she said, absolutely. She calls and goes, girl, I've never eaten a whole cake. It took me a week, but I ate that cake. And everybody loved it. Here's the thing. When you're writing or telling a story, don't assume that people know what you know. Don't just drop in something like red velvet cake and act like everybody else is stupid because they don't know what a red velvet cake is. And don't assume that people were there the day before for the beginning of the story. Tell the whole story. And in fact, don't make it so located in time. Leave out, it was yesterday or 6 years ago or Monday, unless it's relative. 20 years ago was relative to the story because now everybody knows what a red velvet cake is. I love you. And the next time you see a country bumpkin with a big old Tupperware, be nice to them. They got something you want. I love you.